All right, let's talk about something huge that's happening right now, a story that could seriously shake up the world economy. We're diving into the massive effort by the BRICS nations to build their very own financial system, one that doesn't depend on the US dollar at all. But hey, before we get into the thick of it, a quick question for you. Take a look. Which of these summits was the one where the BRICS Bank was officially born? Was it in New Delhi, Durban, Fortaleza, or Ufa? Go ahead and drop your guess in the comments. We'll circle back to the answer in just a little bit. You know, for as long as most of us can remember, the global financial system has run on rails built by the West, with the US dollar as the undisputed king. Well, the BRICS nations, that's Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa, plus their newer members, are now trying to lay down a whole new set of tracks. So what's the big motivation here? Why go through all this trouble? Well, it all boils down to this one key idea: financial sovereignty. It's the desire to be the captain of your own economic ship, to be free from outside pressures like sanctions, which have become a really powerful tool in geopolitics. Okay, so this really frames the central battle. On the left, you've got the reigning champ, SWIFT. Think of it as the super secure messaging system that basically every international bank transfer in the world relies on. And on the right, you have the challenger, BRICS Pay. This is their proposed alternative, and it's designed to let these countries trade with each other directly, using their own currencies and cutting out the dollar altogether. Now, this whole movement didn't just pop up overnight. Not at all. The groundwork for this alternative system has been carefully laid for more than a decade, and it started with them building their own financial institutions from scratch. Things really started to get serious back in 2014. Then, a few key events really sped things up. After Western sanctions hit Russia in 2015, this idea suddenly got a massive shot of urgency. By 2017, they were all formally agreeing to work together on using their own currencies. And a few years later, they had a whole task force dedicated to actually building the system. And that brings us right back to our little quiz from the beginning. So, did you get it? If you guessed C, the 6th BRICS Summit in Fortaleza, you are absolutely correct. That 2014 summit was the moment this all went from an idea to a reality, with the creation of the new development bank and the contingent reserve arrangement. So, once they had their own banks up and running, their ambitions grew. The focus started to shift. It wasn't just about having their own institutions anymore. It was about creating a fully integrated payment network, a real viable alternative to SWIFT. This all led to a huge moment at the Kazan Summit in 2024. This was a massive step forward. They officially gave the project a name, the BRICS Cross-Border Payments Initiative. And then, in a move that really got the world's attention, they even unveiled a symbolic BRICS banknote. Now, to really grasp the scale of what they're attempting here, just look at this number. Over 11,000 banks and institutions are plugged into SWIFT. It's not just a network, it's the fundamental plumbing of the entire global financial system. Trying to build an alternative is, well, it's a monumental task. And it's a task that is facing some pretty major hurdles. But what's so fascinating here is that the biggest challenges aren't just the external pressure from the West. Some of the trickiest complications are actually coming from inside the BRICS group itself. This chart just lays out the internal problem perfectly. You see, several of the key members have already built their own successful national payment systems. China's SIPS is already in over 120 countries. India's UPI and Brazil's PIX are blowing up in their own regions. The thing is, each country wants to champion its own system, which creates this sort of internal rivalry. And that leads to the absolute key technical challenge: interoperability. How in the world do you get China's system, India's system, Brazil's system, and Russia's system to all speak the same language and work together smoothly? Creating that seamless connection is the essential and incredibly complex next step. And while they're trying to solve those internal puzzles, the pressure from the outside is just cranking up. That symbolic banknote from Kazan, it definitely did not go unnoticed. It prompted this very sharp reaction with threats of massive tariffs if the group actually tried to replace the dollar. So, with all that said, where are we now? We've got this incredibly ambitious project, but it's facing big internal roadblocks and growing opposition from the outside. So what's next for BRICS Pay? Well, things are definitely moving. A working prototype was actually demonstrated in late 2024, which is a major milestone. But the political will isn't quite uniform. Russia is all in, pushing hard, while some other members are a bit more cautious.
probably because they're still backing their own systems. But here's the irony. All the external threats designed to stop this project might be the very thing that forces them all to unite and finally get it done.
And that leaves us with the ultimate cliffhanger, doesn't it? What's going to be the deciding factor here? Will the internal rivalries and the complexity of linking all these different systems cause the whole project to stall out? Or will the external pressure become so intense that it forces them to put their differences aside and launch a truly unified alternative? The future of global finance might just depend on the answer to that question.